to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to Wealth Made Simple. I'm your host, Kieron Bateman, and I'm here
with Shaz Nawaz. Assalamu alaikum, and good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Feel free to get in touch with the studio. You can call the studio on 01733 602 133. We'd love to hear from you. You can text us on 07411 191 062, or you can comment on any of the live streams on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Are you playing with the hot light again?
No, it just keeps me warm.
It keeps you warm at night.
Yeah.
Cost of living crisis and all that. So, good evening. Welcome to Wealth Made Simple.
Thank you, Kieron. Pleasure to be here.
So, this week, I thought we'd talk a bit about comfort zones and stepping outside your comfort zone, staying in your comfort zones, things to do around comfort, because we have talked a lot about mindset and about things that go on, but we don't, and we talk about, being in your comfort zone, stepping out of your comfort zone, it's good for you, but we kind of gloss over these sorts of things. So like last week, we glossed over last week, maybe the week before, glossed over generalizations or things like that, initial things that we talk about, but we don't really ever give a full deep dive to. So that's what we're doing right now.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. So without further ado, what is the comfort zone?
Well, the comfort zone for me really is, let's talk about it in terms of a boundary.
Yep.
That you work within, that you're familiar with, that's your routine, it's habitual, and you just stay in it because you're familiar with it. And anything that's new, different, possibly challenging, foreign, in inverted commas, as in unknown to you, alien to you, takes you outside your comfort zone or outside stuff that you know and recognize, and therefore makes you a little bit apprehensive and possibly fearful.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I find...
And by the way, that's not the Oxford Dictionary meaning, but that's just how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I see it very similarly. I see living in the comfort zone is a place where nothing changes. It's comfortable, but it's also where stagnation happens because you get so used to just the same things day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out.
And some people like that.
What? And that's fine, but you don't find any new meaning in life. You don't find anything new. You don't find anything different. You do the same thing. You get the same results, and nothing ever changes. And there's no variation in there.
Yeah, but I think it's important, Kieron, if somebody's really happy there, because we're all different, okay?
Yeah,
and
of course.
Just like everything else, people come in 50 shades of grey. And if someone says, I'm really happy here, I'm in a good place, and there's some people who work with us who have a particular pattern, and they're ecstatic about it and think, I don't want to change. And as you've seen, we've talked about our opportunities, they just don't want them. Because they've found what really works for them. Hey, I find peace here, I'm happy here, I don't want to change this. I know what I've got, I know what I'm missing out on, but I'm happy and content with what I've got, and I'll stay here. And that's fine. But what I find is that the majority of people aren't like that.
Yeah, I think that's the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, take for example, and a roller coaster. Yeah, when you get on the roller coaster, you're a little bit apprehensive. You know it's going to go fast. You know it's going to throw you around corners a little bit. It's going to be a little bit shaky in times, but you're going to get off. And when you get off a roller coaster, you've done a couple of loop to loops. You've gone up fast. You've gone down fast. You've gone down even faster. You've done a corkscrew sideways. You've been thrown this way and that. You're a little bit battered, but you're still okay. You survived.
Are you talking about your last trip to Alton Towers?
But that adrenaline rush just makes you feel that much more alive, doesn't it?
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
And that's kind of how I see life in general, mostly. If you staying in your comfort zone where you're comfortable, where nothing's risky, nothing changes, it's like waiting in line at the amusement park and waiting for that roller coaster, and then stepping outside of your comfort zone, getting on the roller coaster.
Well, I tell you what.
Something happens around the roller coaster. You go up, round, corkscrew, all the rest of it. You get off. You feel more alive, but you're back in your comfort zone.
I tell you what, I see this often. Is if you go networking, whether it's a regular networking club or session, or a new one, and you see people talking, and as you talk to some of them, you realize that they know each other from before.
Yeah.
And if you go to the regular ones, the same ones talk, or the same people talk to the same people. And then they moan about, man, I don't get much business here. I've been coming for 6 months and come every week or whatever the frequency is. But you think, well, you talk to the same people that you already know, and maybe you knew some of them from before. So if they were going to give you business, they'd be giving it to you by now. There's 55 of the people in the room, by the way, who you've not met. The same 5. Who you've not met, from what you've told me, and they've been coming here for the last 3 months or whatever. So not as long as you are, and they've got contacts that you may be interested in. So why don't you? But I don't like it. I don't know them, and it's the small talk, and I've got to make an effort, and not sure, and I'm a bit of an introvert, and all of these things. And obviously they're valid for some people, but now you've made the effort, because entering that door when you're going networking, for example, up until then, I think most people dread it. Because even I can't be bothered, I can't be asked, that kind of stuff. The 54 things you think about, how am I going to get there, what I'm going to wear, all those kind of things as well, who I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to talk about, I just don't feel like it, what are the alternatives right now, all those things go to your mind. But once you enter the door, you think, I'm glad I turned up, because good speaker, good presentation, talk to a couple of people, we're going to have a break now, and then after the break, to do some more stuff. And it's always better than you think it is.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of a psychological thing, but it's also a societal thing, if you like. It's a lot harder to make friends when you're an adult. So for the first 10 minutes or 5 minutes during that breakout session, whenever you have at someone networking event, or just in general, embrace your inner child. Just go up to someone and say hello. That's all it takes. Children are fearless. You see, as a child, I would climb trees. I would get in a, completely unsafe, trolley box thing, go downhill at who knows what speed, and crash into the, mud at the end of the road, and get up and go, yeah, that was great. Let's do it again. The thought of doing that as an adult just fills me with dread.
I bet it does, yeah.
How many bones am I going to break? This could happen, that could happen.
No, but
and that's educational.
But to start off with, you'd think people will think I'm stupid and I'm a fool, and it's going to make me look silly.
Yeah.
That's where you probably start, or most people start, and then everything is about breaking your bones and how fun it's going to be or not good. Do you know what I mean? Most people,
for most people, I start at the pain and then work back to foolish right at the end. Yeah. But then again,
we know you're odd.
We know I'm odd, and we know that I accept,
you're not like most people. Yeah.
I'm not like most people.
Yeah.
But
that's why you're the host.
But this is the thing. Children have no concept of how this could hurt them or how this could affect them, how they look doing it. They just don't care.
They want to have the fun, yeah.
They're interested in having fun and nothing else. And so they do things.
So you're saying bring back the fun.
Bring back the fun. Embrace your inner child. Because, how many times, and okay, you probably, it depends on whether or not you've got children, but how many times do you go and see family friends or friends that have recently had children? The child's never met you, but it comes up to you with zero fear and come see my toys, or come play, and no fear whatsoever. And that's fantastic. And for that brief 5 minutes at the start of something, you need to have that fearless, childlike curiosity of what's the best result? Because children don't think about what the worst result is. Adults do that. We think, oh, if I do this, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Yeah. Our default as adults is, what is the worst? What is the pain? What is the...
Because you've been through some of that before, and then...
But also, to a degree, what is the excuse I can have for not doing it?
Yeah.
Children don't have that. They just go, oh, look, a new friend. And they've instantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Projected that friendship onto you before even, connecting with you in any way, shape or form and going, you're my friend now, so that's great. Let's go and play.
Let's share my toys. So, outside a comfort zone or after a comfort zone, are there any other zones, Kieran?
There are. So a lot of people generally talk about, the comfort zone into the growth zone, but you skip the two zones in the middle. And so you've got your comfort zone. You step outside your comfort zone, you've got that fear zone. That's the zone where you sit affected by other people's opinions, where you're going to find excuses, or you're going to use lack of self-confidence, lack of self-belief to move back into the comfort zone. It's probably the hardest zone to get out of, is that fear zone. Then outside of the fear zone, you've got the learning zone, the place where you suddenly realize that you can deal with challenges and problems, and you learn how to overcome them, how to deal with them, how to get past, and how to grow. You acquire new skills. You extend. You make your comfort zone slightly bigger by learning these skills, and then once you've learned those skills, then you get into the growth zone where you can live your dreams. You can live out that fantasy of going downhill at a rate of knots in a three-wheeled box car because the fourth wheel's fallen off about 20 yards back. That's where growth is. That's where the fearlessness is. But you can't spend, and everyone talks about getting into the growth zone and how amazing it is, how transformative it is. And it is transformative, but you can't live your life there. That's the other thing. You do have to spend time in the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you spend all your time living on the edge of anxiety and fear and learning and growing you can't spend all your time in the growth zone. You do have, but also
it'd be too much anyway, wouldn't it? It'd be relentless.
Yeah, but also, if you think of it as, say, let's do this in concentric circles in meters. So to begin with, your comfort zone is a meter round. Then the fear zone's 2 meters. The learning zone's 2.5 meters. The growth zone's 3 meters. But if you spend enough time in the growth zone, it becomes your comfort zone. So now your comfort zone is 3 meters wide. Then you've got to go into the fear zone again, which is now even bigger. And this is how you grow. But that circle keeps getting bigger.
Like, it's when someone's looking to exercise or go to the gym, you've got to go through that pain to extend your muscles, okay, to then be able to go up a weight, okay, or to run that bit extra, or to swim that much more. But until you go through that pain and you grow your muscles, you're not going to be able to move on to the next step, the next stage.
Yeah, and I mean, anatomically, from what I understand, and someone out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you push your muscles to fatigue, or when you push your muscles through lifting heavy weights, what happens is you get micro tears in the muscles that allow them to grow, and then they once they heal, and that's the pain you get when you're healing, then they've grown stronger. Then you repeat the process, and that's how.
And that's what you're doing with your mind.
And that's what you're doing with your mind.
And then you're building your muscle memory.
Yep.
So it gets used to being in that particular place, situation, circumstance, and then you can then build on that.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, when you were growing up, and certainly, I had this.
I still am.
My bones hurt, my muscles hurt, everything's a bit achy. We've just had a growth spurt. Growing pains.
Yeah.
So we, from a very young age, understand that growing can be painful, but it's worth it. And yet somehow we
I'm
forget.
not sure about that. I want to go on that roller coaster. Yeah.
But yet somehow we forget that as adults,
Of course we
that
do.
continual growth is
Well, the
necessary.
experience gets in the way, doesn't it? And then
Yeah.
you got to, your experiences and what you've seen in your life Okay, and your subconscious starts feeding you all that, and you think about all the negative connotation and how things went wrong and how you ought not to do that again. And you're wiser, you're smarter. That's not a good idea, and you just block so much interesting opportunities just because in the past
You
something
never
didn't
get
quite work
past that
out.
fear zone.
You never get past fear zone. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that just blocks you.
yeah, and you know,
Heuristics is what it's called. Heuristics. That's when you use your past knowledge, experience, expertise, information. Okay.
love that.
Yeah. To then base. Okay. How should I deal with this in this situation? And your mind says, well, this is how things have panned out, and then you link things that sometimes aren't connected. Okay. And you become fearful.
Ah, interesting. Did anyone else know what that was called at home? Because that's a new word on me. I like that.
There you go. That's
Is,
your,
so is that a bit like when you were at school? I mean, when we were at school, we learnt maths, we learnt science, we learnt, all the core skills. But you spend your life going. I mean, okay, it's different for you. You're an accountant, but I've got a calculator. I've got a calculator in my pocket. I've got a supercomputer in my pocket. Why do I need to learn these things? And it's not necessarily about learning maths, for example. It's about learning the processes of how to solve a problem. It's not necessarily about the problem itself. It's about learning to solve the problem
and the different steps involved there.
and the different steps involved. It is, very, very similar thing.
Yeah, exactly. In a different way, but yeah.
Interesting. So, what do you gain from going outside your comfort zone, though?
Well, I think you've kind of touched on that in terms of the learning, the development, the growth, the opportunity. But in the end, it depends what one wants. But generally, it's either satisfaction, it's some kind of a benefit, it's a change. Because I think at its core, people take action or do something different for two main reasons. Okay? It's either pain or gain.
Yep.
Someone's in pain, be it financial, business, personal, health, whatever, okay, and they want to get rid of that pain, or it's to seek a gain and a benefit, okay, and they like that benefit, so then now they've got to go on a particular journey to get to that particular destination that they've chosen. That's what gets most people started, and of course,
But which is the better motivator?
by far pain, because pain gets people to act much quicker than gain. Okay, so pain pretty much is the accelerator for action. Gain is the continuation.
Of action.
Yeah, helps you to continue, keep doing it because you think that's a better place. Okay, whatever that might be, and I want that.
And
But-
discipline is the link between the two.
Yeah, absolutely, and commitment. Yeah. So that's the kind of the two primary reasons why people take action, and different people are obviously wired differently and have different experiences and different expectations in terms of what they want to achieve and what they want to do. Some people, as you know, always live dangerously in the sense that they're always looking to grow, develop, okay, and have that growth mindset. Others are kind of reserved, relaxed, comfortable, and don't want to do anything that's different. So it's just finding a balance of what works, and different things work for different people, by the way.
Yes, yeah. But as we've discussed before, success does leave clues, and to be successful, you cannot stay in your comfort zone. Whatever you want to achieve, you can achieve success, and then success becomes part of your comfort zone because you're always pushing the boundary of your comfort zone. But you won't get to a level of success without leaving your comfort zone because you won't learn the new skills. You won't develop your mindset. You won't become adaptable to change. You won't, set realistic goals and achieve them and then move
If
past them.
if you go to people who like walking, rambling, etc., as you know, Kieran, and some people go to the woods. But if you walk down the same path every single time, then you're not going to discover what truly lies in those woods and what the other paths might hold.
Sometimes you've got to leave the beaten path.
You've got to explore, okay, and see what else there is. And you might like it and you might not. But how do you know until you try it?
And you never know. I mean, I find personally that leaving my my comfort zone was massive as a child. I say massive as a child. It was massive when I was growing up. I was always consistently trying new things and trying to change things and move things around and different things and experimenting and all the rest of it. And then as I grew older and older, that comfort zone kind of shrank back in a way that looking back, I never expected, but it's not something I consciously thought about. So, massive comfort zone, willing to do anything, willing to try anything, willing to grow, willing to push myself as a child, shrunk back, until I got to a pain point where I wasn't where I wanted to be and I couldn't see a way out. And that was my pain. And so I started looking around for ways to change that. And the first step was I got myself a mentor, a life coach, if you like, someone that you know, and Paul helped me break that mindset of just living where I was and start stepping back out into who I used to be as a younger man, learning things, trying new things, growing, and that has all led me to here. And I'm still, it's an awareness of it that makes a huge difference, and that level of awareness that people, if you don't know what you don't know, but if you're unaware that you don't know, then you can't do anything to change it.
Yeah, and that's why obviously seeking knowledge is important, but most of us, or enough of us, know that change is the only constant.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to be able to embrace it, or at least acknowledge and accept it, and then depending on how you want to go on that journey, you need to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And there are obviously lots of things people can do, but I think the biggest one that I see, Kieron, is in all of this is self-limitations.
Yes.
Why they can't do something, why somebody else thinks they can't do something, why they haven't got the time, why they haven't got the patience, why they haven't got the confidence, why they haven't got the skills, the knowledge, the expertise, why they don't like to adapt, why they don't want to embrace change. And sometimes that's sad because you see people have so much competence and capabilities, and there could be so much more just with a small change of 1, 2, 3%. I'm talking, okay, they could really change their life, but they just don't want that for whatever reason. And I think a lot of people are sometimes unable to visualize success.
Yes.
Because I just can't picture it, I can't see it, I can't look that far down the path.
Well, I've found that growth mindset, comfort zone mindset, challenging yourself, it all comes down to mindset and awareness. And there are so many people that I speak to that you mention mindset to them, or but I've got an abundance mindset, I've got a wealth mindset, I've got a growth mindset, I want to learn, I want to challenge things, I want to continue to grow. They see anything to do with mindset as this kind of fluffy,
warm, fluffy, fuzzy,
high in the sky
stuff. Yeah.
Ooh-wah.
Yeah. And I think with that, in terms of comfort zone, getting out of the comfort zone, I think it's important to seek support.
Yes, yeah.
From people who've been there, or people that you trust, who are going to encourage you, support you, put their arm around you, and
you don't have to do it alone.
You don't have to do it alone, yeah.
Yeah, life is not a solo game.
No, of course not.
It's a team effort.
It's a team sport. And then with that, I think learning from your failures.
Yeah.
I call them lessons, by the way. But learning from your failures and saying, how can I make sure that I don't repeat this again and get a better outcome?
Yeah. There's a phrase that...
a phrase that pays?
A phrase that pays. No. So good advice usually comes from bad experience. Bad experience comes from bad advice. Bad advice comes from a lack of life lessons.
Yep. Absolutely.
It all links in together. And if you want to be able to have good advice, take good advice, then you've got to have tripped up along the way and you've got to have grown. And if you've grown, then you've got good advice to give because you've got good experience.
Well said.
And I think...
You're getting smarter, Kieran.
Well, I do like to continually grow.
Is that because of pain or gain?
Initially, I started because of pain, and I continue because I want the gains, because I recognise and I have that awareness.
Good.
And that's about all we have time for this half. We will see you after this short break, or hear you after this short break. Salam alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Master's Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH.
Mart food store Lincoln Road Triangle te aina rush o balle hoy tusani amba ne pure mulke vich rolle
पाकिस्तानी सौगातां जी अंब ले लो जामनू ले लो पाकिस्तानी ताजे मिठे अंब ते जामनू आ गए जी
ਯਕੀਨ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ ਭਾਈ ਨਾ ਮਾਰਟ ਫੂਡ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਵਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਡ ਦਾ ਅੰਬ ਮੰਗਵਾ ਕੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਯੂਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਸ਼ ਲਵਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਕਿस्तानी ਜਾਮਨੂ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਉਹ ਜਨੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਪੁੱਤਰ
Amar Food Stores Al Mashu Fresh Halal Meat and Groceries Address 613B Lincoln Road Triangle Peterborough Telephone 01733 687374 Amar Food Stores Meyar ka naam Munasib Daam.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11 plus, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
Thinking of laser hair removal but worried about cost? Well Skin Clinic, Peterborough's #1 aesthetic clinic, offers 0% finance on courses of laser hair removal. We perform thousands of treatments using the Soprano titanium in our prestigious clinic. Virtually pain-free and suitable for all skin types, our team of aesthetic professionals can help you achieve your goals affordably. Well Skin Clinic, making life-changing aesthetic treatments affordable for all. 40 Cowgate, Peterborough. Call or WhatsApp us on 01733 555540. Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our restaurant at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5pm to 10:30pm. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
अब भी वक्त है कि आप खुद को कोविड-19 से बचाएं। अगर आप या आपके खानदान के किसी फर्द को मौसम बहार का बूस्टर यानी स्प्रिंग बूस्टर लगना है या आपसे कोविड-19 की कोई वैक्सीनेशन छूट गई है, तो आपके पास जुमा 30 जून तक का वक्त है। पीटरबरा में अपने करीबी वॉक इन वैक्सीनेशन सेंटर्स के बारे में जानने के लिए या अपॉइंटमेंट बुक करवाने के बारे में जानने के लिए विजिट करें thevaccinators.co.uk.
You could be driving, you might be cooking, you could even be working. But whatever you're doing, you're also listening to Salam Radio. And if you're in business, your potential new customers could be listening too. So
Find
talk
us
to
on
them and let
Facebook
them know
at
what you have to
Salam
offer.
Radio.
Advertising on Salam Radio.
Salam alaikum, good evening, and welcome back to Wealth Made Simple, the show that talks about property, investment, our lives, what's going on, how we are progressing, mindset, properties. I said properties, didn't I? And wealth in general.
And money.
And money, yep. I'm your host, Kieron Bateman. I'm here with
Shaz Nawaz.
and we are in the studio. You can get in touch with us on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191 062, or you can comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Lots of ways to get in touch.
Absolutely. And please do.
Yeah, please do. So, welcome to Wealth Made Simple. For this show, we're going to discuss when you go to buy a property, whether it's an investment property or whether it's a property for your own personal home. Do you just go look around, see if you like the place, and then put an offer in and see where it goes from there? Or should you go in armed with some questions that you need to ask either the seller, the estate agent, your lawyer, your conveyancer, all of these people, or whether or not that's part of the research you need to do on your own? Which is the best way to do it?
Just walk in there and see if you like the property. If you like it, buy it. Because it's not like it's the biggest investment you ever made in your life. Or do you know what I mean? So just see how you feel. And then sometimes it appears that some people work to that particular modus operandi. But you can get that just that feeling, as you've said, by looking at the photos, driving up and down the street, understanding the neighborhood. You're halfway there anyway. And I think most people don't think enough about the questions that they ought to ask, whether it's the agent or the seller or their solicitor or somebody else, to make sure that they go armed with the right questions to get the right answers. And then some of this stuff happens post-agreement to sell.
Yeah,
which you're going to cover in it, I know, but you should have asked this up front. Well, I didn't think about it. Well, see, that's the biggest cost for you, the biggest purchase or investment that you made in your life, whether it's your own home or a piece of buy-to-let. It's a significant investment. Maybe you ought to have thought about it a bit longer before you actually went to see the property. Why wouldn't you? It's logical, isn't it?
Oh, but it was such a beautiful house, Shaz, that I wanted to get in before anyone else had a chance.
Yeah, but from the time you made the appointment to the time you went to see that house, it must have been some hours or days in between. What were you doing then? Daydreaming?
Well, yeah, this is it. And yeah, I think, but going back to, what we've said on previous, is experience teaches you to ask more questions. The first house you ever bought, whether it's, personally, the first house you bought personally, unless you had someone tell you that you need to ask this question, this question, this question, chances are you went in, you looked around, you fell in love, you bought the house. Because it fulfilled certain criteria. And that criteria, when it's your first property, generally, and, it falls within budget, I can afford it, and it's in the right area-ish. And that's about it. That's about all the house needs for a first home, for people to buy it. I can afford it, and it's in the right sort of area. Okay, cool. I'll take it. The second house you buy, well, what didn't I like about my last house?
You're a bit more experienced, aren't you?
Yeah, but you're looking at the first house you bought, and you go, right, well, I didn't ask about the parking situation, for example. Must make sure I've got parking in the new place. I need to ask about, I need to look for cracks in the ceiling because, we had a problem with our ceiling in that house. But you only ever continually update your list of questions based on the issues you've had in previous properties.
And you've not had every single issue
and you've not had
under
every
the
single
sun.
issue. No.
So I think the first question everybody ought to ask is, what are the right questions I should be asking?
Yeah.
The right questions.
Yeah.
Not any just random questions.
No, you really do need to look at how where you're going and how you're going to structure these questions. But yeah, what
I'll
are
tell you
the
one
right
thing now,
questions?
Kieran. That just positions you so differently. Because think about it. You're selling a house. 10 people come to view it. A large proportion of them do what everybody does. Look around, a bit of small chat, whatever else. They'll ask you one or two questions. Where are you moving to? Why are you selling? Whatever else, okay? And one or two people come in, armed with questions. Okay, want to sit down, maybe have a cup of tea, but depending on how much time you've got. But want to ask you those questions. Wow, they're serious, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think I read a report on the statistics of it. Most people decide to buy a home within the first 2 minutes of walking through the front door. They'll spend the next 20 minutes wandering around the house, but they've already made the decision. Before they've asked any questions, before they've spoken to the seller, before they've spoken to anyone else, they have made that decision based on...
Based on the front door?
Essentially, yeah, based on the front door. And, yeah, as we will go through in, future episodes and, there are certain things you can do to make your house more sellable, more enticing. So armed with that knowledge, you're there going, okay, in the first... Someone's going to decide on whether or not they buy my property within the first 2 minutes. So I need to do this, 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 and this. That basically secures a sale. And I've done this a number of times. I have purposefully characterized a property. I have dressed a property to make it sellable.
People do that all the time, even with cars. It's sales 101, isn't it? If the car's nice and clean and validated and it smells nice, you're more likely to sell it.
Yeah. If the car's got, one odd wheel and half a bumper
But
falling
it's just
off.
dirty. It's not clean outside or inside. It puts people off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And, it's why you'll hear over and over again people talk about, when you're selling a house, magnolia the walls. Give them a clean canvas. So and in my experience, that's not always necessary. If you dress it the right way, there are cheaper ways of doing it, but it's got to look fantastic. If it looks fantastic, it's clean, it's, clean lines, sweet inside. People can see themselves living there. People like the way it's laid out. You can optimally there is a difference between, for example, a lounge. The lounge layout, whether it's optimal for sale or optimal for living, they are two different things.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, makes it a lot easier to lay it out for selling than it. Okay, you've got to move it around again when potential buyers left, and you've got to put the house back together for living in. But that's by the by. You'll get a quicker sale out of it. You'll get a better sale out of it.
So what are some of the right questions to ask?
Yeah. So some of the first question I will always ask anyone. So why are you selling the house? Why are you selling? Are you, because you never know their situation, and if they're selling for, there's 1,001 reasons to sell. We've just had another kid. We need to increase the size of the property so that we're having to move for that reason. I've
relocation, job change, moved, emigrating,
and
divorce, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Harsher side, divorce, split up with partner.
Can't afford it. Financial change,
whatever.
lost my job. Yeah, all sorts.
All of these things, but all of these things are information for you to utilize
to see how motivated they are to sell.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In
a good way, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And because ultimately, if somebody's needs to sell quickly and you are in a position to buy quickly, then you're serving them and doing them a favor.
You're creating a win-win situation.
Getting them out of that situation because they don't want to be in there any longer than they have to. Yeah. But you can facilitate that. Which would somebody rather do? Would they rather, and I'm going to use this as an example, but would they rather wait and take maybe, exact asking price or, but that could be 6-12 months down the road, or would they rather take a 5-10 grand hit on the overall cost of the property asking price, but they sell now and they're out in 3 months.
Yeah, and not everybody's going to give you an honest answer.
No,
It's
no, of
still
course
worth
not.
asking just to see what it is. And I think it's a nice, opening, obvious, common question to ask.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just do it.
And it starts the conversation rolling. Like, oh, okay, so you move in. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, you can start having more of a friendly conversation. And next question I ask always, so how long's it been on the market for? Because that gives you an indication of how much interest they've had. Has it been? Oh, we only put it on the market last week. Okay, it's fresh on the market. Oh, we've been trying to sell this for the last 6 months. Oh, big difference.
Telltales, yeah. Why isn't it selling?
Yeah.
And then that should get you to ask more questions, think about it more in terms of why the property hasn't sold and or if there are any defects or any of the reasons.
Yeah, exactly that. And and this is some research that I would do prior on Rightmove or Zoopla or something, is has the value of the property changed? And I don't mean has the value of the property changed since it was built or since it was first sold, because
Or bought, yeah.
Because that's an unrealistic margin. But has it have they, for example, did that house go on the market at £200,000? Has it now dropped to 180? Has it dropped to 170?
Yeah.
That tells you a lot. Also, something you can find on Rightmove, Zoopla, and a number of other sites is how often that property's been sold. Because has it changed hands a lot? Has it been around the block?
Yeah.
But and if so, why? Is it an investment property that doesn't yield good tenants? Is it an investment property that doesn't get tenants because of its location?
Mm-hmm.
If it's
its condition, yeah.
Yeah. If it's changed hands a lot, that could tell you a lot about it. You can ask this. I tend not to, but it's something that if it feels right, then you can ask is what's the minimum price the seller will agree on? Yeah, it depends on where you are in the conversation, how conversational you've got with them, how friendly you are with them. But some people have a minimum amount that look, the house is on at 200, but if I get 165, 170, I'll take it and run because I need to get out, and that covers everything I need it to cover, and I'm good. Well, okay. Well, I personally would then, if it was a property I wanted, probably go in and offer 180 because I'm not a monster. But you've got some wiggle room there, and you know what your numbers are, you know what their numbers are. You're not there to take advantage of people, and that's something that I think.
Yeah, but probably hasn't sold for 6-9 months, Kieran, and the price has been reduced a couple of times. The reason it's not selling, it's not the right price, and as you know, you got to have a willing buyer and a willing seller.
Yeah, exactly that.
So, I think people shouldn't be afraid to lowball offers, but there's got to be a reason for it. Just the lowballing is playing silly buggers in my world. But if you justify it with some reasoning to help them understand and explain why you're doing that, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But just going in cheap to mess somebody around, and then people get fed up, mate. They can't be bothered with those kinds
and I
of
don't
things.
advise anyone to.
They don't take you seriously, and I don't think we should do that. But if you've got some valid reasons to do that, absolutely.
It's been on the market for 18 months. It's been reduced 3 times already. It's in a,
got to sell, got to move.
all
Want the
these
cash
other
quick?
reasons.
Well, I'm going to get a mortgage, but I could raise the cash if I do that. Okay, it might cost me more to raise the cash, or I've got it. I don't really want to use it. If I use it, I'm exposing myself to a bit more risk in terms of using my rainy day fund. In order for me to do all those things, what kind of discount are you going to give me?
Yeah.
Because it's an exchange of value,
It's
isn't
an exchange
it?
of value,
Yeah.
yeah. It's got to be
Nothing
fair
wrong
on
with
both
that.
sides.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the time people think, especially of property investors, you're just trying to get a cheap deal, you're trying to rip someone off, and you get a bad rap. And I don't agree with any of that. If you can get a good deal that works for both of you, and this is the key thing that everyone always glosses over, works for both of you.
You can't rip somebody off. If Kieran, you're saying I'm selling this pen for £1, and I'm saying I'll give you 50 pence, and you agree to sell it, you've not been ripped off. You agreed to it.
You agree to it, exactly that.
Yeah.
Ask the seller if they've already bought a new home or found a new home, because that can delay delay. I had a purchase that didn't go through in the end because the sellers they agreed the price that I offered them. They agreed, everything was agreed. They agreed what was going to be staying, what was going to be all the rest of it. They hadn't found a new property. The reason they hadn't found a new property is they were looking for the one. They were looking for their forever home, that place that they could move into and never move again. And we had that on hold for, I think it was 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pulled out and I was like, look, you've been looking for, you were looking for a year before I came along and put an offer in. You've been looking for 8 months since I put the offer in, and then they decided that. And so I had an open conversation with them and said, look, perhaps you should take yours off the market until you found the one you want.
That's right. But linked with that, I think it's always worth asking them if you're selling and you're buying and your seller's buying as well. Do you know how many people there are in the chain? Because there's 10 people in the chain, you're buggered. If there's one or two, whatever, it's fine because it's going to delay and prolong because everybody's got to exchange, complete, right? And that's just going to make it not
it's
so.
a whole house of cards.
And then if you're exactly, and if you're then looking to move into the house quickly, because you already sold yours, okay, or about to sell it and about to exchange or whatever, because you waited until that happens to find your next property, well, you got a problem because you're going to have to rent in between possibly, or you ask your buyer to hold and they think we don't want to hold. That makes sense. So I think it's worth asking how many people are there in the chain, and if you don't know, maybe find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Got some questions from Facebook. How can I determine, from Fiaz? Good evening, Fiaz. How are you? How can I determine the appropriate rent to charge for my commercial property to attract tenants and ensure profitability?
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are on it. You need to run the numbers. You need to do the numbers. What are your outgoings on that property? What are the service costs and all the rest of it alongside it? And then, so what are you having to pay out as a minimum? And then, what profit yield are you getting? Do you want to get? But also, what are others in the market area charging around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say that's the first place to start. And thank you for your question, Fias. Is what's the price per square foot in that area?
Yep.
And then work on that and see if that works for you. And then think about what changes can I make? Because if you've got a 10,000 square foot building and renting out to one entity, may be difficult. So you think, how can I break the property up? Because if you've got 3 or 4 tenants, the accumulative rent is going to be higher than one person paying you. Yes, on the flip side, you've got the extra headache of managing 4 people. But if you've got a lease, short-term, medium-term, long-term lease, that helps you address most of those concerns, especially if it's a full repairing and insuring lease. So you'll be able to get more rent. So if you can, Fiaz, break up the property rather than having one tenant, have 2 or 3 tenants. That works. Having smaller shops, like usually easy to rent out, especially the small businesses, and they don't have to pay small business rates, or they get small business rates relief. That always helps. And it's easier to get a tenant to pay you 10,000 than it is to find a tenant who's going to pay you 100,000. So you could do that, and then obviously also look at how best can you utilize the space. So I'm thinking about serviced offices or hot desks. Is that going to work? Does the area lend itself to that, or should I do a bit of that, or create some communal space, shared offices? Is that going to work well, or do I just want to get the rent every month and hand it over to somebody else? As a tenant, I do have extra space. Can I put some more units on here, whether it's mobile or physical? That helps. What if I change the planning permission, from its current use to some other use, in which there's a sector which can afford to pay you a higher rent?
Yeah.
That helps. There's again a bit of effort to go in there. And what I would say, Fiaz, is, and you haven't asked the question, and you might not be interested, but I'll be thinking about, what if I convert this to flats and apartments? How much is that going to cost me? How much is that going to be worth? And is that going to give me a better return overall at the end? Just to compare.
Yeah, just to a comparison analysis, I think we like to call it.
Yeah.
And Fiaz has also asked, can we provide any tips on negotiating lease agreements with potential tenants?
Lots.
Yeah, we will perhaps do an entire show dedicated to negotiation strategies, and I will take a note of that.
Yeah,
for
next
next week.
Partly it depends on how clued up and smart and difficult the lessee's solicitor is, and how difficult and awkward that they are, and how difficult and awkward you want to be, and how compromising you want to be, because you can argue over every single point in or every single clause in a lease. You can have a 5-page lease, you can have a 10-page lease, and I've seen a 150-page lease. So how detailed and deep do you want to go? And then depending on which points they want to negotiate. But generally speaking, it's the rent, the tenure, as in the length, break clauses, who's paying for what, okay, what kind of planning permission they've got, accessibility, is it in the Landlord and Tenants Act 1954, security of tenure. Those are the kind of common things people look at. Okay, and obviously to make sure that the tenant's paying the insurance. But some get awkward tenants who want to basically negotiate on every point. I'm not seeing every single point, but quite a few points. I think if you're just prolonging this whole thing, it doesn't need to be this long.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I quite like to, if I'm leasing out a building, I like to give the building over to them. They are responsible for absolutely everything, and they're responsible for giving it back to me in the state it was given to them.
Dilapidations, yeah, so you want clarity on that. And also, is there a rent-free period?
Yeah.
People ask for that. Are you making any kind of contributions, and if it needs fixing up? Usually that's a negotiation compromise on, you can have a rent-free period, but you need to spend some money on the property to bring it up to scratch. Yeah. Or you bring it up to scratch yourself and then charge them the rent. And then say, I want it back in this particular condition. I'd rather do the work myself and say, I want it back in this condition, rather than give them a rent-free period, because then they've spent money on it. It's now, when they give it back to you, for example, it's old and used, and then you've got to give somebody else a rent-free period. Why not just do it once and then fix it up, and then the person gives it back to you, how they found it?
Yeah, that's my preferred method. But ultimately, and it's something we've said before, is a good negotiation is one where both parties walk away unhappy.
Yeah, thinking I could have got a bit more and I gave too much away.
Yeah, as long as both parties feel that way, then you've probably got it about right, and it's about equal. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you are, Fiaz. Hope that helped. Anything else? Feel free to get in touch. But so
back to the questions.
Back to the questions, and bear in mind that a lot of these questions are applicable to commercial as well as residential properties. Mm-hmm. that they work for both. So, and you know, even more so, probably more so with commercial properties, you need to be asking mm-hmm. these questions, because it's a much bigger space.
Yeah.
Now you can ask them. They're not obliged to tell you, but have you received any other offers? See where.
We have some offers or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, they're not going to disclose them. But yeah, it's worth asking.
It's always worth asking.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can ask them this. You can do your own research. You can ask the estate agent this. What's the local area like?
Yeah.
Have you found it? What are the?
Yeah, do some online research on that as well, especially if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any local development plans? Is there any planning applications going through? Check the council
planning
website, planning portal, to check that, because that will make a massive difference in certain areas.
The local search will pick that up as well. Yeah.
Yep. When it comes to commercial properties, what if you're going to be renting it out, what lease period are you looking at to leasing out? Are you doing 5-year, 10-year, 7-year, whatever leases? What's your plan for that? And if you've got tenants in situ, if you're buying a commercial place, what is their current mm-hmm. agreement?
Yeah, and get that checked out. Yep,
get that checked out. Have they ever had any damp issues? Big thing, but people mm-hmm. always.
I always ask them how they get on with their neighbours.
Yeah, how
and what the neighbours like.
Yeah, what are your neighbours like? Are the neighbours owners or are they tenants?
Yeah.
And are there what are they including in the sale in terms of
an interesting one?
Yeah.
People don't ask that, and they want to go straight to leave the chandelier there and the curtains and the dining table. Should have asked that before you put the offer forward.
Yep.
Because they're going to charge you for it now, and some might, most don't.
Yeah, exactly that. So, how energy efficient is it?
Yeah.
How and
What's the parking like?
what's the parking like? All these things are, I think, what's the water pressure like?
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard water? Is it soft water? Important questions to ask.
And how long have we lived here? Then if we're moving out after 6 months,
There might be a few more issues.
Yeah, so that's always a good one to ask, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that is about.
And that's just some of the questions, Kieran. Obviously, there's many more people can ask
there's
based
many
on their own
more.
requirements and needs.
But I mean, the primary point is make sure that you do ask questions and
Ask
you don't
questions,
don't go in blind.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, and that's about all we've got time for this week. So we will see you same time, same place next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for